Oh, hello, Studio 108 community. Lisa Turner and I sitting down to talk about the stars and the planets. And what a juicy time of year to do that, because we already are like approaching this year end kind of thought stream and conversation. You know that I don't know, the New Year's resolutions are like knocking at the door.
For sure.
And so Lisa's got a lot of good insight today about the planetary alignments and how we might really be in a good position. Like, I feel like if you don't have your head together, these days, you're either reactive and kind of being drug along, or you're proactive and you're responsive. And you're like, you got your scene together. So you're like an opportunist, right?
Yeah.
Like, what opportunities are there?
Yes. There was, we often, when we are in heavy times of stress, and we're recording this on the full moon.
Yeah.
Which has a little Mars, a little angst, a little, frustration. A little puppy in the eyes. And, today, or could have brought stuff up today. And, someone had asked me, like, how are you dealing with all of this stress? And or what are you going to do about it, right?
Yeah.
What action are you going to take? Now, Mars is retrograde. And I said, nothing. I'm going to allow life to unfold.
Right.
And just be aware of it.
Yeah. Not a victim of it.
No, just
not like thinking you have to control and manage all of it.
Yes.
But just like in that opportunity space where you're like responsive and clear, grounded, I hope.
Yeah.
Grounded's hard for me, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, grounded is important because as we move in from the end of the year into the new year, I do have a New Year's ritual. Okay. And it's one that I've practiced, I think it was going back to like 2009. And part of that ritual is, number one, reflection on the experiences that I've had, specifically this year in 2022, the good, the bad, the ugly, everything, all of the experiences, because our story, our life has been this entire year, all of it. And some things we don't want to take with us, right? Whatever it is, people, events, emotions sometimes, ailments.
Grudges.
Yeah,
grudges. I've been feeling really grudgy, Lisa. I've been feeling really grudgy.
Yeah. Mars retrograde does not help because we're internalizing all of that frustration.
Yeah.
And you honor and you look at it and you write down all of those things that you're like, hey God, hey universe. Yeah. Okay, I did it this year. I don't want to do it again. I don't want to repeat. And you burn it. You burn it before New Year's, on New Year's Eve, to symbolically kind of say, hey, I'm releasing, I'm purging,
the door's closed.
The door's closed. And then on a piece of paper, we write what we want to manifest, right? And this would be like equivalent to like our New Year's resolutions. And I have written so many things on paper since 2009. But what I like going into this year is that we have this aspect of Saturn in Pisces, and in 2023, Saturn in Pisces and Jupiter in Taurus. And it gives this like beautiful, fertile aspect that can work together, that with persistence, with hard work, with dreaming of whatever it is that we want to manifest, it has the ability to do so.
Yeah.
But we have to work it. That's the key. It just doesn't happen. Like you have to put some work in.
I feel like now more than ever, it's like personal responsibility. Like you can't get by. Like you can't avoid the fact that you have to be responsible for yourself. Like there's a coming to truth.
Yes.
Yes. It's like every single individual. And this is the thing, like, we are so good at looking around at the world and saying, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, and looking out. But those days are over.
Yes. So
like now are the days of like looking in.
So in my notes, because I'm like, okay, you know, what does this feel like? And I go in my mad scientist mode and I start writing things down. And the first two words I write are sober up. Get real.
Yeah.
Get real. You know, just we can bury our head in the sand of it's your fault.
Right.
It's this didn't happen and this wasn't right.
It's always been that way.
Poor me.
It's never gonna change.
I'm a victim of it. It's always attacking me. Yeah. And I really strongly feel that as March 8th is when Saturn gets into Pisces of next year. And that I think is going to be the time where we do have to sober up. We do have to look at where we've been living in the fantasy and what the reality is. You know, that Pisces energy, it does like to sacrifice. It is one of the words, you know, one of those key words with Pisces is victim. Yeah. You know, escapism.
Yeah.
And I think that as we work with the energy next year, moving into next year, we do have to sober up. We do have to see what's real.
And I mean, it's a little bit like the stick that went through the world for 2020. I mean, like, it's a little bit of another kind of deep sigh. Like, I love the sigh.
But I know, but here's what
I think it's more optimistic.
Here's why.
Okay.
Again, I always usually err on the side of optimism, but here's what I like about it. Pisces energy is drugs. It's alcohol, which is one of the things that I was doing sober up. It's pharmaceuticals. Gotcha. So I think as we move through 2023, we're going to have to be, I shouldn't say we're going to have to be, we might see that we have to get really aware, maybe more restrictions, right? Saturn restrictions, boundaries around pharmaceuticals. I guess, you know, I just heard that amoxicillin. Yeah. There was like a shortage of amoxicillin. I mean, I guess at the very like scary part of it is maybe we have a lack of drugs, a lack of things that we need, right? Saturn putting kind of that strain there. Right. I mean, so that would kind of be like a scary version of it. But what I am hoping for is more regulation, right, of those things.
Right.
So yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So Saturn is going into Pisces on March 3rd. 8th. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then tell me about Jupiter.
So what happens is that Saturn goes into Pisces and answers to Neptune in Pisces. And then Jupiter is going to answer to Venus, right? Jupiter is going to be in Taurus, answering to Venus. And they begin to make Saturn and Jupiter, they begin to make this sextile that kind of harmonizes things together. In astrology, we call it like the easy aspect, but it's an easy aspect that offers the grounds to grow.
Okay.
But you have to work the grounds.
Right.
Jupiter.
Oh my gosh, I just got this image of the little red hen. You have to till the soil.
Yes, this is exactly what it is.
Water it. You have to like cut the weeds and grind it into flour. And
yes.
Like she just didn't get her loaf of bread.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
I really like the Jupiter in Taurus, you know, Jupiter's growth. So what are we growing? You know,
where do we see this sextile? Like where on the calendar is that kind of lining up? But what kind of a range are we talking about? Just the whole year?
No, it's not the whole year. I was actually, what I wanted to do is get into the details of it.
Okay.
As we into just in our next podcast.
Okay.
But this kind of just set the tone
for
dream. What dreams do you kind of want to put into
from
reality?
Now to March, we're going to concentrate on. Okay, you guys. Step one. I just wanted the whole motion. She was skipping the whole process. Skipping the whole thing. So back it up, sister. We're starting from December, and we're first going to do our purge and our release.
Yeah.
And then we're going to work in our dream space of our ideal. See, this is really an interesting thing because this happens to me too, where I spend a lot of that first week of January visioning. I put together my vision boards, perfect pictures, all glued and decapaged on there. Like put it in like a prime spot in my room, and then off I go, living the same drudgery life I always lived. Right? Like mid-February, it's fallen over. The dogs chewed on a corner of it. The whole thing. So what we really want to keep in mind this year is that there's going to be some call to personal responsibility. And while we're in that dream space, we want to stay connected to that conversation and kind of alert to ourselves, do a lot of some like soul search.
Yeah, for
like
sure.
Be really clear.
Yes, be very clear. You know, Saturn and Pisces can bring up loneliness. It can bring up like those vague anxieties. Neptune energy, you know, Piscean energy, it likes to make sacrifices. You know, noticing which sacrifices you make, how you make them, right? It's not to say not to give or to be helpful or to be at service, but you know, the timing of it, being more mindful of which ones are actually part of that growth, right? Part of that Jupiter connection versus the ones that are just draining you and cause worry and anxiety and stress.
Maybe this would be lifestyle balance too. Like self-care. Maybe
always self-care.
Maybe this is the year to like.
And where we escape, right? I keep going back to this sober up because
Gotcha.
I have a very Piscean chart and a very watery chart. So I can get swept away, not necessarily by fantasy, but by believing everything's going to work out. Like, it's okay, right? Well, yeah, I err on the side of optimism. I definitely feel as Saturn goes into Pisces, that reality of, hey, Lisa, sometimes it's not all roses. And you have to see a truth or something really uncomfortable that I don't want to see.
Yeah, I was talking to Leah about this because there's this response to stress that I think a lot of us do, where we go into that, everything's okay, I got it, I can do it, I can do all this, it's fine, no, it's good, I'm really good here. Whereas actually maybe this would be a time to just say, let's be honest here, let's sober up, to borrow your words, and just maybe it's not okay. Maybe there's some stuff I want to like think about here.
Which is why we want to burn, baby, burn. When I first started this, I had like, I'm exaggerating, but I'm not really exaggerating. I had a lot of paper of things that I needed to burn and release. And then in the manifesting, and we kind of touched on this, I think, at one point, when you manifest, it's not on your time, it's on God's time. So you don't expect that in 2023 it's going to happen. You allow that timing to happen. You do. You allow the timing to happen to it.
Interesting. Yeah, that's one of the, even on my neglected vision boards, I've noticed how things come to fruition and when they come to fruition. Even if I feel like I've neglected it, the prayer is heard. So and sometimes we neglect it because we're doing the work towards it, right? Like we're having the aches and pains that are clearing the way for it.
Yes, for sure.
And it doesn't feel necessarily like the prayer, it's that gritty work.
Yes.
Every time I see you, I'm gonna think of sober up, sister.
I do. Like that's just what consistently comes to mind every time I think about it, is sober up. The other thing that I have noticed in my own life, and that I'm aware of, because I can catch myself doing things that I'm like, whoa, did I really just think that? Is one of the other things that I wrote down, is spiritual neurosis. Like, have we gone like too far into ayahuasca ceremonies? I hear more and more about ayahuasca ceremonies, right? Like very Neptunian. Everything is about spiritual this and spiritual that, and you can go down that rabbit hole where it's no longer spiritual, it's abusive is the word that just came to mind, but in a sense, right? Manipulative. Thank you. That's the word that I wanted.
Yeah.
And I really hope that as we move through 2023 with the Saturn and Pisces, we sober up with that too.
Yeah, and you know what? My teacher Buddha Jaga is like, there's nothing more spiritual than changing diapers. There's nothing more spiritual than arguing with your husband. Like, these things are the raw materials for our growth and development and our spiritual work.
Yes.
And that's the sober up part.
Yeah. So
right?
I've had people say to me, well, you're a yoga teacher and you practice compassion and you practice, non-judgment and all of these things that we say yogis do. And you know what? We do. It's a practice, but it doesn't mean that I might not have a snarky thought, but it's that snarky thought that triggers, wow, why did I just say that? Or why did I just think that? And you stop yourself and you reflect, you pull back, and then you start that spiritual internal practice.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that as we move through 2023, we can identify with that. Where are we just calling it spirituality? Or
well, there's that term spiritual bypassing, which means you're using your spiritual lingo to kind of bypass your reality.
Oh,
right? There's also like even affirmations kill me. I'm not a big fan. Mantras, yes. Affirmations, not so much.
Mm-hmm.
Because like you can put things on post-it notes everywhere. It doesn't shift the subconscious. It's just pretty things you're saying.
Yeah.
And you're like band-aiding. And what it is almost like abusive to self. It's almost like that's the himsa rather than the non-harming ahimsa. That's like the harm to self, where you're like trying to say to yourself, stop thinking what you're thinking. Stop being who you're doing. And be something else. Yeah. So it's like this could be a really rich year for personal practice.
For sure. I think it's a great year, and I'm super excited because I've even noticed it with myself. The couch got moved out of my office, so now I have more yoga practice space.
Yeah.
And to meditate and to reconnect, right? To work and practice Saturn and Pisces, my own spiritual journey.
Right.
And practice.
And the consistency, I think.
Yes.
We do a monthly meditation here, and I love that because every month there's a commitment to that, and it's different every month, so you get a little bit of novelty to it. I know in my personal practice, I usually have one that I do for the year because it's nice to have a deep dive into one little 10-minute thing. So look for the email, you guys. It would be actually today it went out, so when you're listening to this, it'll be last week's email for the December meditation. It's a really good one. It includes a little bit of movement. It'll give you good stamina, and you can start right with us, just like chugging along one month at a time, doing the practice.
For sure.
Yeah.
So, there's not too much in, diving into people's charts today, but I did kind of want to set that foundation of number one, reflection.
Yes.
Of where we've been this year. Number two, the reflection, the letting go, the releasing, the purging, that to honor whatever experiences we had this year, the things that we would like to manifest in our life.
Dream big.
Oh, for sure. Dream big.
This is the year to dream big.
It is. I did this ritual with my son, and I know he put down one year because he told me, try not to say anything, but he did tell me. Yeah, he did tell me one year that he wanted to be a millionaire. So you know what? One day, you never know. So yeah, dream big. And you actually hide what you want to manifest. I've only found a couple envelopes of what I've hidden.
You hid it in the house?
I've hid it in boxes, in books. Like I've hid it anywhere that I really felt confident I was going to forget about it. And then every once in a while they'll pop up. Again, there hasn't been many. And then you open the envelope, right? Once you find it, again, then you get to open it and you get to see what is manifested from the year that you wrote the list.
That's so interesting.
To the year that you opened the list. I'm always fascinated, number one, the things that have manifested, and number two, the things that I wanted to manifest, and I'm so grateful that they didn't.
That's really interesting.
So
I love that. So, okay, so step one, write down the stuff you're getting rid of, burn it.
Burn it.
Step two, write down the stuff you'd like to manifest, hide it.
Hide it. So I usually put it in an envelope. I write the year on the envelope and then I hide it. And the last step, I have a thing with candles.
Mhm.
So I light 3 candles. I light one for the past, one for the present to keep me centered, because this is the only moment that matters, is the one we're in, the one that exists right
It's the
now.
only moment in which you have any power whatsoever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And to truly honor that. And then that third one is for whatever it is that the future might hold, right? You're lighting the way into the future. You're lighting the way into the next year.
Love that.
So that's the ritual.
You guys, so next week at the solstice event, we're going to make vastus, which are real gemstones that you get to pick aligned to whatever you're manifesting. And we're going to put them on a string, like it's called a vastu, which is like an adornment of some sort that you infuse your intentions with. So we're going to make them, and these will be able to be hung, and you can put them in your house somewhere.
Beautiful.
Yeah, or on your altar, wherever, like sometimes the lamp has that little turning knob, and it's nice just to hang something right by your bed on that. So we're going to do some energy infused work around those intentions. So you're going to have opportunities to really like review and reflect and take your time with this, because it sounds like we'll be mulling it over into the early spring.
We are, I mean,
like
for
that.
sure, because we have to still clear stuff.
Yeah.
We've had, just to kind of recap, we've had a lot of hard Saturn over the last 5 years, a lot of hard edges.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been rough. We've had the Saturn Uranus square, like we've had a lot of Saturn, we've had a lot of change, we've had a lot of
structure breaking.
Yeah, like it's been rough. Saturn doesn't like to be in Pisces, but again, erring on the side of optimism, because we have this really nice sextile, they work together.
Yeah.
They work together.
It's going to be productive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Be productive. Productive for genes, productive for growth, grace. So the other thing that I wrote down that I really liked is grace, right? Simple. Refinement. The things that we really want to see grow, but a sense of beauty and affection, material. I mean,
it is material stuff.
It is
Venus and Jupiter. It's a good time.
It is.
If you want a new couch, just say it.
Yeah.
Just say it.
Well, I remember the podcast we were talking about Jupiter and Pisces, and you had said something about a lot of money. I'm like, no, like Jupiter and Pisces is more about like, it's like the donations, the charities.
Yeah.
Now Jupiter and Taurus, that's a different story.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, let's
let's
move towards that growth.
Yeah.
For sure.
We'll take it. Small businesses need it.
Yes.
And one of the things that I really love about the Aquarian conversation is permission. Like permission to find joy in prosperity, permission to find joy in abundance. Like you want the people who have light and love and good intention and good values to have the money. So if you are that kind of a person, please do what you can to generate some financial power for yourself, and then be super responsible for it. And that's how the world's gonna spin around in a more positive light. So yeah, I'm riding the wave on that.
Yeah. And manifest away.
Yeah.
Give it all you
Sober
have.
up and then manifest the shit out of it.
Sober up. Like it's honestly, if you know where Pisces is in your chart, and again, I have every intention of going through, and we're gonna look to see, where those two are. If you were at the open house, some of the clients that were here, I went through and kind of showed them where that was. But yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Come practice with Lisa, because she talks about this in her classes.
I do all the time. Yes, I do.
She's just a planet talker. So she channels from the planets, and you can get the benefit of that through your practice, along with all kinds of other good yoga stuff. Yeah. So I love it. I'm putting her contact info below. She does readings.
Thank you. Yeah. And
I'll see you at solstice. So you guys.
Yes, and keep an eye out for the ritual, because that will come out
soon.
too.
Yeah, the post with the ritual will come out. And also sitting on my desks are customized essential oil rollers.
Oh my God, yes.
No, I know it's sitting on my desk. So I promise.
Yes.
It's gonna be really exciting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can we share?
Yes.
Okay, so I've mentioned this before on the podcast, and I'm going through this really hard transit this year, and I sat down with Tracy. I'm like, you know what I need? You know what I really needed? I needed like an essential oil, because my sun in Scorpio has just been hammered away by Taurus or by Saturn. I said, you know what? I needed an oil to kind of amp up my solar energy.
Yeah.
I said, what about we start doing that? Especially like those personal planets, so that if you are going through a hard solar transit or mercurial transit or a Venetian transit, that we have these oils here to help strengthen that part that is kind of getting hammered on a transit.
Yeah, and we wrote down the oils and we wrote down the planets, and I have the little bottles. I've got little ones because you really don't want like a ton of it. You just want a little bit. We can sell them at a super accessible price. I just need little labels that I can print on that are going to look cute. So I'm working on that last little bit.
So
the shelves here.
Keep an eye out for it.
Within a week. I hope.
Having
a Christmas tree sale. There's so much going on.
Yeah, and it'll really help strengthen that.
Yeah,
it will.
We need that little support to make a big difference.
And it does.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
You guys, it's going to be a great month. It's going to be a great 2023, and we are so glad you're here with us.
Thank you. I love being here.
Love it. I know.